Hi, I am Lee Blackburn, and you're watching this video, I assume, because you were taking Humanities 102M in the summer of 2025, and I'm very glad that you are. So what I want to do in this video, which I hope will be brief, is just go over some of the most important information that you need to know for the course, and also just to be very clear about some of my expectations um, for the course. So let's just dive in. I'll say go ahead, and you may need to pause this video, but go ahead and pull up the syllabus for the course, because while I'm certainly not going to be going over line by line the syllabus, I'm hitting some highlights, and I think it could be useful to have the syllabus open and available to you. So I'm going to do that myself. And just because this is a very practical video, it's not really sort of about the um, ultimate rationale for the course. I just want you to have a better sense of expectations for the course. Let's begin on page 2 of the syllabus, text and readings. Now, this is really important, and this is one of these expectations I have for the course, that if you cannot accept it, you should not take the course. And here's the expectation, that you will purchase and be using uh, the the 5 exact books that are listed on page 2 of the syllabus. So I want you to use the edition that we're using, if applicable. I think that's only applicable for West in the world. But also um, the edition, I'm sorry, the translation that we're using. So that is applicable for the Inferno, Canterbury Tales, and Tartuffe and other plays. So I'll talk about this more in a moment, but when you are making your discussion posts, I'm expecting you to cite these texts. I'm expecting you to cite the edition of the texts that I have listed here on page 2. Now, I guess one exception to this would be Othello. If you have another copy of Othello lying around for some reason, the line number should be the same, the text should be the same. So that's your one exception. But for the other 4 texts, you need the exact edition. Also, as you can see here, there are some other things that you're going to be reading. They're available on Canvas in PDF form. And there is one film that you were required to watch, Much Ado About Nothing, the 1993 version. So I don't know if that's currently streaming on a streaming service. You may have to rent the film for $4 or something like that from Amazon or Apple or what have you. Let's go ahead and move right along um, read the section on page 3 on integrity, but I'm going to have more to say about that in a moment. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at the getting started section on page 3. So the best way to, I hope this course is going to be very easy to navigate. When click on the course in Canvas, you should see just a series of modules, um, most of them, representing 1 week of the course, week 1, week 2, and so on. So that's actually one of the most important things to know right off the bat. The basic unit of the course is the week. Now that's different than the way we teach humanities in the classroom at Milligan. Some of you will know that. Basically, once you finish a week's module, you are done with that material. You will not be tested on that material again. There is no cumulative element of this course. You do the week's module, you move on. Okay. Now, while there isn't necessarily a precise order for what you're doing in the weekly module, there are some rules of thumb. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And this is, again, bottom of page 3, top of page 4 on the syllabus. The first thing you want to do is watch the instructor's videos, the videos that I have made. And just a word of warning, they've been made over a period of time, so I'm probably going to look younger. I'm probably going to have slightly different hair or something like that. Don't be alarmed. Just go with it. But watch those videos. Those videos are there to orient you to the material for the week, to orient you especially to your readings, but also to artworks and things like that. And for each instructor video, there's usually, there's several of them a week. For each one, there is a short quiz to go with it. And I would say, assuming you were paying good attention, jotting down a few notes while you were watching the video, I would just take those quizzes right away when the material is fresh in your mind. Get those over with. Those quizzes will always be due at the end of the day on Wednesday. So each week's module begins sort of technically on Monday. Okay? So you sort of have 3 full days to watch the instructor videos and to do the quizzes that go with each of them. Now, after you've done that, the main thing, of course, to be doing is the assigned readings for the week. But in many cases, there will also be a couple of lectures given by other Milligan professors that you'll also watch. Okay, so you'll need to remember to do that at some point, and it doesn't really matter when exactly you do those. Okay. The big thing is at the end of every week, so due by midnight Sunday night, you have to take a weekly quiz. And the weekly quiz is going to cover all of your assigned readings. It's going to cover any lectures by my Milligan colleagues that were assigned. Okay, that's all fair game for those. Okay, so make sure that you've done all of your assignments before you take that weekly quiz. Seems like there's something else I was going to say about the weekly quizzes. I don't know, maybe it'll come to me later. There is, as you can see on page 4, there is a study guide, and that's in the top module of the course. And that is there to guide your reading for your assigned readings. Okay, so I really encourage you to make use of that. So I would say before you read a reading assignment, whether it's a play, whether it's an assignment from West in the World, go ahead and read the appropriate questions from the study guide so that you know what you're looking for. And then when you're done with the readings and trying to figure out if you're ready for, let's say the weekly quiz, then you're going to want to kind of quiz yourself using the study guide to make sure that you're ready for that. And in some cases, you'll find, I need to go back and look at this. I don't remember, who this person was, and then you'll have time to do that. All right, all of the weekly quizzes, I think I mentioned this already, but let me just underline this. This is totally consistent. They're always due by 11:59 p.m. on Sundays. That never changes. And I expect you to take them alone without any kind of consultation with your classmates or with anyone else. There will also sometimes be under the weekly modules some handouts to look at. So, just be sure to note that, to pay attention to those handouts. Okay, so now we turn to a major component of the course. Now, if you look at the top of page 3, I guess, you'll see that your final grade, 60% of that will be your quiz average. And quizzes means both quizzes on my instructor videos and the weekly quizzes. Okay, that's 60% of your final grade. The other 40% comes from your discussion post. Okay, so you want to pay close attention to this. So top of page 5 on the syllabus. Most weeks, not every week, but most weeks, I will pose 1 or 2 discussion prompts. Let's say there's 2 prompts. Okay? That will mean you need to have a total of 3 discussion posts for that week, because you need to have 1 for each of the prompts, and then you also need to make a post in direct response to one of your classmates' posts. Okay, now I'll say more about that as we go along. But I want you to note here on page 5 that I have 8 different criteria that I'm looking for in your discussion post. This is very much not simply a pass-fail type situation. I'm going to give your post the grade that I think it deserves, and it's going to be based on these criteria. And listen, I'll go through them quickly, okay? You've got to meet the minimum requirement for the number of posts. So if you make 2 posts of your own, but you don't respond to a classmate, you're going to lose a significant number of points there. Okay. Number 2, I also definitely look at the quality of writing. If your post is poorly, sloppily written, I'm going to deduct points. Number 3, pertinence. You need to be responding directly either to my own prompt or to what your classmate has said. So you need to stay focused and on topic. Number 4, courtesy. This is usually not a problem, but don't be a rude jerk. I encourage you to disagree with one another. I think it's important to learn how to disagree in a civil kind of way. But again, the key is keep things civil. Number 5, and this is absolutely critical, each post should have a citation of the relevant texts. Okay, and if you look above a little bit in the same paragraph, you can see that I expect that in every single one of your posts. The only exception to that would be a question that pertains strictly to art, right? Because you can't cite, a work of art in the same way that you can cite a text. Even then, I would expect you, though, to be very detailed in what you have to say about that artwork. Criteria number 6, length of response. Okay, each post, every single post you ever make, ought to be a full, well-developed paragraph. Okay, I'm not going to give you a minimum word count necessarily, but I will certainly let you know. I'll be giving you feedback, and I will let you know, this is not adequate. Your response needs to be longer. So if that's an issue, I'll let you know about that. And of course, in terms of my grading, I'm going to be more lenient early on when you're sort of learning the ropes. Once we get to your second or third discussion forum, then my expectations are going to become a little bit more rigorous. Number 7, punctuality. Here's something I haven't mentioned yet. The discussion forums will close at the end of the day on Sunday. But whenever there's a discussion forum, I want you to make your 1 or 2 main posts, again, depending on whether I've given you 1 or 2 prompts. I want you to make your 1 or 2 main posts by midnight on Saturday. The reason for this is simple. You and your classmates need time to respond to each other, right? So imagine if everybody waited until 11 p.m. on Sunday to make their posts, it would be almost impossible to make to really respond to each other. So make those initial posts by Saturday, and if you don't, that's going to be a 15-point penalty right there. So I want you to be aware of that. And 8th and final criteria for these discussion posts: originality. Okay. And notice, I mean 2 things by this. Number 1, every post should represent nothing but your own thinking and reflection on the topic, on the relevant reading, and so on. Okay, I don't want you to do any kind of outside research in this class. And that would include even just, sort of surfing the web looking for, random websites that talk about the topic. Okay, I want to know what you think. So I'll come back to that in a moment. Secondly, this is going to be something I'm going to be watching for very closely. I want you to be, the whole purpose of the discussion forum is to have a kind of conversation. It can't be exactly like a classroom conversation, but we want to be as close as we possibly can. And in a classroom conversation, it would be very odd indeed if someone raised their hand, made a comment, and then a few seconds later, somebody else raised their hand and made the exact same comment, or made basically the same comment. You would think, why is this person saying that? That's already been said. Well, the same applies to a discussion forum. What this means is that when you're getting ready to make your posts, you need to go ahead and read what's already available and be sure not simply to repeat something that's already been said. And if I am reading through the discussion post and I find a couple of posts that seem to be basically identical in substance, even if not in wording, then I'm going to look at the timestamps. And I'm going to see who posted theirs first and who posted theirs second. And the person who posted it second is going to lose a lot of points for that. Okay. Now, again, especially when you're responding to a classmate's post, it's a great thing to build on a point that's already been made and develop it further. That's great. Again, that's what a good conversation looks like. But sheer kind of repetition, or just saying, I really agree with Katrina about this. She made a great point. You're not really enhancing the conversation. Okay, so if you go on to the next paragraph there on page 5, you can see that I do not want you, again, doing any kind of online research. I don't want you using AI for this course at all. Not because, AI has no value or it's never appropriate to use it. It's just not appropriate to use it for this particular class because, again, if you use it, it is almost certainly going to be as a substitute for your own thinking and reflection. And this class the whole point of it is to stimulate your own thinking, your own reflection. Okay. So And again, look at some of these things I've put in bold because they're really, really important. If you're clearly using outside resources and you don't cite them at all, that's an automatic F. If you don't cite page numbers from a relevant text, that's an automatic F as well. Okay, so I really have very precise expectations uh, for these discussion forums. And again, I expect you to improve and get better as the semester goes on. I will be kind of coaching you and encouraging you to, trying to give you some pointers. But there are certain baseline expectations that are in place from day one. I'll just reassert them. Number one, uh, don't use outside resources. And if you do, which I don't really want you to do, um, and you don't acknowledge them, that's an automatic F. If you don't cite the text with page numbers, and so you can see why it's important for you to have, for all of us to be using the same exact addition and translation of text, right? Because I'm going to be looking up in many cases those page numbers. So you've got to cite the text, just nothing fancy, just in parentheses, at the end of the appropriate sentence. Um, you need to do that. You need to make your initial posts by midnight on Saturday. That's also a baseline expectation. Okay, so let's look at page number 6. Just a couple of policies I want to be really upfront about from the beginning so we all kind of know where things stand. Number one, I don't accept late work. Okay, now this is a class that is pretty relentless in terms of deadlines, right? They're just constantly deadlines that are looming for the instructor video quizzes, for discussion forums, for weekly quizzes, and you're just going to have to meet those. Now, obviously, I understand that sometimes truly extraordinary circumstances arise that are beyond your control, and I will work with you in those cases, but just because of the nature of the course, I will require documentation. So if you say, I didn't finish my weekly quiz in time because I've been sick or because I had a family emergency, unfortunately, I can't just take you at your word. I need some kind of documentation, a doctor's note, maybe an email from a family member. Don't have to get into details, but at any rate, just assume I don't accept late work, and if something really serious occurs, just know that I will work with you as long as you will work with me to kind of document what's going on. Okay, along those same lines, I simply will not accept technological excuses for late work, for failing to turn in work on time. You've got to have a backup plan or two for how you will submit your work if you end up having a problem with your primary computer. That is definitely a consideration if you are traveling. Okay, I had a student a couple of years ago who went on vacation, while the course was happening, which is totally fine, but was having problems with the Wi-Fi at his vacation rental house and all. And I'm sorry to sound callous, but that's not my problem. So you're gonna have to sort that out. It's also not my problem if you wait until 11:40 p.m. to submit something when it's due at 11:59 p.m. And then you have a technological problem. You've waited too late. Okay, so you need to give yourself a buffer and not turn in things at the last minute so that you can, resort to your plan B, right? So again, I'm sorry. I know that's a kind of strict policy, but I think I just have to impose that kind of policy, or there would just be too many abuses. Okay, so let's look ahead to the first couple of weeks. Technically, the course begins on Monday, June the 2nd, although I've set it up where you can get started a couple of days early. One thing that you'll notice is that I've got the course kind of automated so that um, the current week's module and the next week's module are always available, so that if for some reason you get ahead, or you want to get ahead, or need to get a little ahead, you can do that. However, I don't allow you to get beyond sort of the next week, just because um, I think that in most cases that would just be impossible and not a particularly good idea. Okay, um, so just be aware of that. If there's ever again an extraordinary circumstance that you think would warrant me opening up an additional week for you, you can let me know. Actually, this happened to with a young woman a couple years ago who's in the armed services and found out she was going to be deployed soon, and so she was trying to finish the course as quickly as possible. I worked with her and allowed her to do that. Okay, but under normal circumstances, it's just going to be the current week and the next week. Now, notice week one, you've got a lot of videos to watch, instructor videos to watch. And remember, there's a quiz with each one of those. There's quite a bit of reading. However, there is not a written assignment that week. Okay, so your first discussion forum is not until week two, and closes on Sunday, on midnight of Sunday, June 15th. Now, here's something important that I want you to be aware of, and I apologize for this in advance. It's not ideal, but I think we'll get through it. I am going to be on a cruise that second week. Okay, from June 8th to June 15th, and I will basically just be incommunicado that week. I'm not paying $25 a day for internet on this cruise. Um, and so, but looking ahead to week two, if you have any questions, I will be certainly checking my email very regularly all throughout week one. Okay, so as you're kind of getting your sea legs, and as you're looking over the syllabus and figuring things out, I will be available throughout week one, but week two, I just will not. Okay, so if something, again, truly extraordinary happens, and you were not able to turn things in on time, we'll deal with that once I'm off the boat, which will be starting Sunday, June 15th. So from Sunday, just again, from Sunday, June the 8th through Sunday, June 15th, um, I will probably have a couple of chances to check my email during that point, but just kind of assume I'm basically inaccessible. Again, I apologize for that. I didn't plan this cruise or the timing of it. Um, but after that, uh, I will be available, accessible every day for the remainder of the course. I'm sure there's something I've forgotten to mention, but again, I will be closely checking email. So if you have any questions at all, big or small, do not hesitate to reach out to me. I really want all of you guys to succeed in this course. So I want to be able to clear up anything that's confusing or puzzling to you, um, I would like you to do this. Um, just right now, go ahead and email me at lblackburn@milligan.edu, or you can message me through Canvas, and just let me know that you've watched this video and that you accept the expectations that I have laid out, and also tell me just a little bit about yourself. I want to know just a little bit about who you are. So, sort of where you're from, what you're studying. If you're a student athlete, you could tell me about that. If you have a family, spouse, kids, whatever, I'd love to know about that. Um, so that'll just humanize things a little bit. So just stop and go ahead and do that right now if you can. Just take 5 minutes, and that way I'll know that you've watched this video and that you understand sort of how this course is going to work. All right, thank you for your time and attention.